So I want to talk to you guys about how can you raise your value as a man, especially if you had an absent father. I think this is one of the most underrated talking points for men because I see a lot of videos about, you got to fulfill your purpose, you got to make sure you're working hard. If you want to increase your attraction with a woman, you can't be needy. But how do we develop these habits if we never had a father who showed us how to be a man? It's like building a house for the first time where you have no experience whatsoever. No one gave you the tools, no one gave you instructions. And when you go in and build this house, there's no proper foundation. And when you reach the final result, it's a complete disaster. So I think when men don't have a father who is consistent in their life, if they have a poor relationship and it's not healthy, it's going to affect them as they get older in life, especially if they don't deal with these internal issues. As men, we internalize everything. We don't really like to share our emotions. We don't like to admit we have weaknesses because it can kill our pride. So when we reach adulthood, it can be harder to investigate those weaknesses because we're trying to get on with our lives, fulfill our purpose, and be a man. But when we lack the instructions, we're going to flop all over the place. And if we're trying to raise our value, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. That's just to be expected. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I had these problems in my 20s where I lacked confidence with talking with women. I had a hard time just starting a conversation. I was nervous. I was unsure about myself. I didn't think I was valuable enough. And because, me and my dad, we have a good relationship now, but we had some rocky times and I didn't have all the tools I needed as an adult. And I don't think that's his fault because he has other things that he dealt with. But at some point, you have to take responsibility. There has to be a moment when you're in your adulthood, you have to stop playing the victim game. So if you're going to try to overcome an absent father, or maybe you had your father in your life, you guys didn't have the best relationship, the first thing you got to do is just stop blaming him for your lack of growth. Because eventually you got to put away childish things. If you're in your 20s and you're trying to get better, you got to stop blaming your past. You got to start taking some action and some responsibilities for your own decisions. One of the best things that we can do to raise our value is partner with guys who have successfully raised their kids or are doing well with life, and we get around them more often than not. We try to pick their brain. We learn from them. Maybe you don't have that in your life right now. Well, you can go to YouTube and watch different sessions on how to be a man. You can go and read books and gain knowledge. That way, if you lacked it in your childhood, you can get books that will make you a better man, that will help you along the journey. And if you can find men who are leveling up, it's going to make you want to be better. And it's going to rub off on you because you're going to see an example. And I'm not saying not to have a relationship with your dad. I think that's very important as well. But one of the best things you can do is find accountability, seek out information that you never had as a child. And if you're taking ownership of these things, you're naturally going to progress. Now, does this mean you're automatically just going to be a high value man overnight? No, it does not. It's going to take time. There's going to be some things that you will deal with and you probably will keep dealing with as you get better as a man. It's just a normal thing. We live in a microwave generation where we think that everything should happen overnight. But when it comes to personal development, when it comes to just getting better, that does take time. So if you have an anxious attachment style that you developed as a child, it's not just going to go away overnight. It's going to take some work. It's going to take time to overcome that attachment style. So when you're in a relationship and you notice that you're being anxious, don't beat yourself up. If you're putting in the work, if you're taking responsibility for your actions, you are getting better as a man. Another thing that's going to help you get better is not comparing yourself to other men who are successful, regardless of their riches, regardless of how big of a family they have, what kind of house they're living in, what kind of car they drive. They too have weaknesses just like you. The difference is they've just taken responsibility. You don't have to say to yourself, well, they're 30 years old and I'm 30 years old and they're a lot farther in life. The reality is everybody's on a different path. So don't condemn yourself. Don't put yourself down as a man. Recognize that if you're just trying to get better one day at a time, that is a win already. And just remember, give yourself some grace. There's going to be things you're going to fail at as a parent, as a husband, because you never had the proper manual. And if you're in a situation where you fail your spouse or you fail your kids, get back up. I know you probably hear different messages out there where you got to work hard, you got to fulfill your purpose. That's all important. I'm not against that. But we have to look at the other side of the picture. If you didn't have a father in your life, that can really affect you. And when you have these blind spots, you're not going to know what to work on because you're just focused on being a better man. You're trying to be a good father, a good husband. And if you fail because a blind spot showed up out of nowhere that you never worked on before, give yourself some grace. It's okay to fail. And the last thing I want to talk about is be okay with failing. Because if you take risk, if you're trying to grow and raise your value and you mess up along the way, it's okay because you're trying to grow. You're trying to get better. You're not trying to be satisfied with your personal development, with who you are as a man. If you're working on things constantly, and you happen to be a human being, oh my goodness, you're human. Everybody is. That's fine. The key is in raising your value as a man where you didn't have a father is just taking personal responsibility, standing on your convictions, and trying to just get better one day at a time. It's really that simple. So, again, don't compare yourself, take responsibility, and be willing to take risk. And if you do these things, I promise you're going to find a wife who's going to love you, who's going to respect you. You're going to raise great kids. You're going to be a great father. You're going to do some awesome things. But just recognize it's okay to be human. And as long as you keep trying and showing up each day, you get up when you mess up, you take ownership, and you move forward, you're going to be in a good place. And your value will only get better. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you have raised your value despite not having a father in your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.